Can't hear.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Fintech Festival India's digital mega event. The fintech industry has seen a huge transition because of digital transformation from banks to e-commerce platforms. Massive volumes of data in the form of a transactional and non-transactional data is being generated and stored with the help of cloud and AI every day. So in our next discussion titled Standing on the Shoulder of the Giants, Revolutionizing the Fintech Landscape with Cloud, Data Analytics and AI, we will be discussing the impact these technologies have had on the fintech ecosystem. So moderating this discussion is Mr. Lalit Mehta, co-founder and director, Decimal Technologies, who is joined on this panel by Mr. Ashish Koul, National Head Sales, Rapyder Cloud Solutions, Mr. Narasimha, General Manager, IMEA at MoEngage Inc., Mr. Sachin Castelino, Chief Operating Officer in Solutions Global Limited, and Mr. Suchit Mishra, Chief Information Officer, Dhani. So welcome to Fintech Festival India, everyone. So over to you, Lalit.
Thank you, Gitanjali. So I think it's a great topic that we have picked up for today. Standing on the shoulder of the giants, revolutionizing the fintech landscape with cloud, data analytics, and AI. I can see two very interesting pieces of the industry here. One is fintech, and second is the technology landscape through cloud, data analytics, and AI. Fintech is like very, very relevant. This entire $5 trillion dream of Indian economy, the entire credit gap that we have. And the entire fintech industry, the way it has been coming up in the last couple of years, is something which makes it very, very pertinent and a very important topic to be discussed. On the other side, we saw that COVID changed our lives. The entire speed for digital, or the speed for going digital, was kind of was never expected the way it happened in the last 2 years. And we know that cloud, AI, and data analytics played a fairly significant role in kind of for companies to overcome this era of this COVID, which hopefully we are out of it now. I hope that we are past us. So it's a great topic to pick up, and I think it's a great panel to talk to, where we have people from different industries, absolutely very, very relevant for these topics. So I think without wasting any more time on this, I would just want to get started with discussion. I can't really wait to talk to the kind of elite panel which is there. So I think I would want to get started. And the first thing which I want to kind of which was going on in my mind was that it's an era of hyper personalization and experience contextualization. Every single enterprise has been kind of spending a lot of effort, a lot of investments in kind of making sure that the user experience is wow. We are able to give personalized experience to our consumers. And there, I believe cloud, AI, and analytics has played significant role. But I think who other than Mr. Narasimha, who comes from MoEngage, who's kind of the company which is defining user experience, which is doing this whole thing by itself. What does he has to say? And if he can really quote some use cases where they've used any of these technologies to define user experiences, I think that'll be great. So Narasimha, what do you think of this?
Thanks, Lalit. Thanks. Absolutely happy to be here. Fintech, cloud, AI, analytics, it's quite a rich topic to talk about. I may probably have a slightly longer answer, Lalit, just to give some context to what I want to say. But if you look at, you spoke about $5 trillion, I think give or take a few hundred, we can count as many as 5,000 fintechs in India today, right? Yeah. Across payments, lending, investment, insurance, neobanking, crypto. If you look at all of them, the way we see it is they're absolutely focused on driving customer lifetime value. It's all about creating a seamless, highly personalized experience across every stage of the customer lifecycle. When I say customer lifecycle, onboarding, engage, retain, and grow. Now, to appreciate this challenge of customer experience, how to deliver it, and more importantly, how fintechs, as we see it, are leveraging technology. I really want to, Lalit, take a step back and put some additional context so it can be appreciated better. I'm sure everybody will agree if I say the most frustrating experience is the impersonal brand experience.
Yeah.
And for fintechs, communicating the message that is aligned to the customer life stage is, I think, very essential. What I mean by that is, let me take millennials as an example, easy to understand that. For millennials, life cycle goals have changed drastically. If you compare them to maybe you and me, Lalit, baby boomers, millennials are absolutely delaying life events as compared to their parents, maybe because of different outlook to life or affordability. For example, they're getting married late, having children maybe later, and so on, right? If you look at millennials, their approach to banking and fintech per se is very different. They prefer more, if you can call it as more modern financial offerings. Now, fintechs have to kind of understand this shift in preference. Across the product offerings, right? Fintech have to align it to the life stages. It is very visible, right? If you look at digital wallets, if you look at car loans, if you look at, say, insurance, wealth management, retirement plans, they absolutely vary across their life stages, right? And as you said, Lalit, the COVID impact is, I think, very severe, and it shows up quite strongly in the financial behavior of customers, right? We all are very used to contactless payment modes, payment aggregators, online banking. Nobody wants to go to a branch anymore. Now, in this context, if you look at millennials, the way that, as I said, I'll take millennials as an example, the way they perceive trust is very different. They expect the brands they're engaging with, in this case, fintechs, to have their best interest. For them, best interest means, does the brand enable them? Does it empower them with information, education? The consumers expect the brands to engage them with newsletters, push notifications, app alerts, and so on, right? Now, given this context, the way we see it is the most competitive edge a fintech can achieve by building a robust customer engagement platform. That's where we're talking about the topic of the day, right? Intersection of cloud, analytics, and AI, right? The customer engagement platform basically to deliver a very personalized, meaningful experience across the entire customer journey. Now, thanks to the intersection of cloud, AI, and analytics, and especially the flexibility of mobile devices, today we can engage with customers in a very meaningful way. Now, essentially, the way we see it is it's about building a single view of the customer, where you combine the behavioral, demographic, geographic data, add the transactional data, and then come up with various trends, cohorts, basically actionable in analytics, right? And that's what fintechs can leverage in their marketing automation to deliver this highly personalized experience. So in short, as we see it, it is an amazing opportunity of the intersection of these three technologies, which enable the fintechs to come up with a robust customer data platform to engage with their customers. Lalit?
Great. No, fantastic. So I think my takeaway from what you're saying is that, cloud, AI, and analytics being used for enabling an engagement. So it's kind of, enable your customers, engage your customers, and that's what customers are demanding today. That's what customers seem to be they like brands if brands engage with them. They like brands if brands enable them. Let me kind of, bring in another, maybe 2 more minutes on this topic. It's very interesting. One thing, the speed at which the market has been changing. The customer segments that used to exist earlier. So, for a fintech or for a financial services brand, they would have a few segments of customers to take care of. But with the entire speed of change, the number of segments, the number of ways in which you can segment your market, and the number of segments that you have to service is far too many. And the number of segments are far too many, and the demand of each segment is very, very different. The kind of variety that's needed in your overall model of engagement with the people needs to be far more having different pieces and different possibilities available. Now, how are companies going and kind of addressing this issue? Or is this an issue which is addressable by large mammoths as they used to do it earlier? One large company kind of doing financial services for like 20% of the country, like, SBIs of the world, is it really possible going forward, or it's going to be a very different world? Or maybe Sachin, Narasimha, it's a very interesting, intriguing question that comes to my mind, that how the market is going to look like a couple of years from now.
Absolutely, and that's a very interesting conversation, because you speak about guys like SBI or some of the older guys, right? But you also need to understand the vintage that these guys have had, right? So they've been here for that long. But you compare that to certain new age organizations. So, for example, if you look at the streaming service Netflix, right, the time in which they have pretty much gone into all countries versus how some of the older organizations took, there's a big difference in time, and cloud and AI and analytics has been able to help them accelerate this, right? So I do know of certain fintechs, for example, that were international fintechs that came into India, and they were literally able to go live within a span of a month. Like, so after their study, etc., the tech shifts and movement to go live, etc., was very, very quick. And this is enabled a lot by cloud and how the cloud technologies function. I think the other point to note is as well is definitely initially having a focus on what is the actual problem that you're trying to solve. That helps a lot, but now with cloud and AI and analytics, we're also able to experiment a lot more. So us as an organization, because we deal with a lot of banks and we deal with a lot of fintechs, and we help them in various use cases that they have. The speed of experimentation is a lot more faster now than it was a while ago. There are platforms like, for example, the low code to no code platforms, your business model platforms, and AI and ML on top of that. That helps us understand that, okay, very quickly we're able to create a user experience, move it to the market, see whether it works, get the analytics back, like understanding things like when was a drop in user behavior, in where did they drop off, where did they lose interest, and whether those are actually those click points and touch points are required or not. We're able to now gain customer insight much faster than we were able to even 5 years ago, or even 5 to 7 years ago. So for now, I feel that whether it's possible or not, this is something that time will tell. But if we talk about the tools that are available out there in the market, I feel that definitely yes, the tools are available. It's a matter of appetite, and it's a matter of appetite for partnerships as well. So trying to do everything under one umbrella is a way of doing things, but having various partnerships to help solve a challenge, I think that would be the mode for the future.
Great. So great, Sachin. So what I understand is that these technologies, cloud, analytics, and AI, are actually helping the companies, and you gave great examples, to actually address the issue of much larger variety of customer segments. And they've been able to kind of, go across segments and still be successful using these technologies. Fantastic. So I think along with hyper-personalization and the entire user experience, one thing which is absolutely important, and you mentioned, Sachin, in your when you were answering that people have been able to move to new geographies in about a month's time. Yep. So speed to market is something which is of absolute importance. Today, and all of us have heard this conversation, that we want this go live as of yesterday. All of us have heard this. It's not something new to us. Yeah. So I think another very important aspect that is to be solved, or which is being solved, is speed to market. So today we want to kind of, go out, make things available to our consumers, our customers, faster than ever. And there, I believe, and you mentioned, Sachin, cloud, AI, analytics, again, playing huge role in that. And I think who better than Ashish would be kind of the person to answer this. He runs a cloud company, so he would know that how cloud has enabled this entire speed to market aspect. So Ashish, some examples coming from you would be a great thing.
Thanks, Lalit. Thanks for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel. Really, the definition of bank has changed over years. No, I don't remember visiting a bank branch for last at least 4 or 5 years. The last time I went was to kind of close my home loan. This was when I went to bank and have a cup of coffee with the bank manager. So that's how world has changed. Customers are opening banking accounts, demat accounts from their homes. Be it tier 2 cities, people expect deliveries happening to their home. So it becomes imminent to talk about speed to market. And speed to market is my personal favorite question. Since I said it's my personal favorite, I owe the reason as well. So in last 5 years as AWS partners, we have delivered more than 400 customer use cases, unique customers, and overall around 700 use cases. And every time we ask this question to the customer, what are the delivery timelines? The answer is yesterday. So that is where the speed plays a lot of role. We respect that urge as we understand the speed to market is definitely has to be in line to their plans. While going on cloud or making it live becomes the last leg, where definitely the speed has to be increased further. Cloud plays a lot of role there, and as well, we as partners with a team of more than 100 plus experts, be it AWS or other cloud players, we play definitely an important role where we can help to enhance that experience. And it's not just about lift and shift and migrating that application to the cloud. It's also about modernizing, as you rightly said, it's about AI and data analytics, how we can leverage all those aspects on the cloud is more important. So that's where a partner like us plays a role. Also, while we all look towards the success, which means, we grow and there are a lot of ideas and we don't want to wait on scale. So that's where cloud plays a role. But at the same time, we also have to look at the other side, which is failure. Let's say a company is not able to grow to the scale. They don't want to land up with a technical debt. So at that time, cloud becomes imminent. Pay as you go, you come in, you experiment, and then go ahead. So definitely that's the area which we have seen over last 5 years and worked with a lot of customers and have seen success in that area.
Great. So cloud seems to be kind of, really playing that very significant role in speed to market and, addressing the real demand for speed to market by businesses. So I think all of us have experienced cloud. So one very interesting, at least I think it's interesting thing which I wanted to bring up was these technologies playing a role in solving business issues, which is whether it's kind of, demand of hyper-personalization or kind of, demand for speed to market. Another thing that I'm seeing is, and Sachin mentioned about that, there are a lot of tools which are being created. When I say tools, I mean, the resources which are being created to address these issues. And these resources themselves are using cloud, AI, and analytics. To name some of them, like LCAP, low-code application platforms, or CI/CD. If you look at, I think going beyond the fundamental technologies, now a lot of frameworks, a lot of tools, a lot of platforms are being developed to actually address these issues of hyper-personalization and speed to market and other risk assessment and all. I would just want to understand, how do you think that these fundamental technologies of cloud, analytics, and AI are playing role in creating these platforms and frameworks? What do you think is something really making it even faster than these fundamental technologies, lending us edge? These tools, these platforms are giving us further advantage. How are these tools using these fundamental technologies underneath? Any one of you, whosoever would want to pick it up?
All right, I'm happy to pick it up. My view is that if we start looking at technology and we start looking at the fundamentals of how much time it used to take to train somebody in a particular tech stack, right? So earlier, if you think about C programming or even assembly language, etc., the time taken to firstly train someone on that and then to build something on top of that, there's a lot of time that needed to be spent in doing that. Versus if we think about it now, versus Java and what the Apache Foundation and what everybody, like the entire industry and ecosystem has come together and done. On top of that, the hardware side of things with cloud as to how accessible it's become versus when it was not really accessible, where you had to buy server farms and clusters, etc. to now being accessible on on a CPU and a clock cycle basis. What this has done is that it has taken away a lot of headache from a management standpoint, right? Where do I get the service from? Where do I get people from? Where do I get this training from, et cetera, et cetera? It's all gone away. So what this has done is it has freed up a lot of time for a lot of creative people like you, like everybody else in this panel, and I'm sure for a lot of our audience, to further build and further expand on things that we can do together, right? So creating low-code platforms, because that underlying stuff that was there was much more easier to work with. Then creating low-code platforms then became the next fundamental step. Creating AI and creating the analytics on top of that, it became the next fundamental step, because below that, those aspects have also become very composable to use.
True. Yeah. No, great, Sachin. I think, while these technologies were providing us kind of opportunity to solve these business problems, but we were still left with the problem of skill. We were still left with the problem of operational hassles. And these frameworks, these tools, or these platforms are kind of taking away
yep.
the hassle which was involved in operations, or kind of skilling people, or kind of, making sure that, these skills are interoperable. So I think these tools are, you rightly said, these are kind of further kind of giving us advantage beyond these fundamental technologies to speed it up further, to make it more reliable, make it more scalable. Well, fantastic. And since you talked of skill, and all of us know that right now, one of the biggest problems that all of us are going through is skill. The kind of lack of skill sets, lack of resources, this huge resignation drive, and this attrition problem. All of us have been struggling to grapple with this. And even the best of the companies, the largest of the companies, have been going through this problem of actually managing this time period when the demand is at the highest, but the lack of resources is what is kind of leading you to lose business, or not kind of give that satisfactory experience to your clients. So what do you think is emerging as model, or what are the models which are emerging to solve this problem, or how are we addressing these problems? One is, of course, the things like that you said, Sachin, creating platforms which are anyways reducing the need of skills itself, or which are reducing the need of number of people that are needed to do the same job which was to be done earlier. But I think partnerships and ecosystem is playing significant role when it comes to this. I think many of us would be using, or would be kind of relying on our partners, or kind of acting as partners to solve this problem. So I think maybe Ashish, would you like to kind of take that up? You're on mute, can't hear you.
Yeah, Lalit, definitely that's a area that we come across every single day. If I look at my last 3 years with Rapyder, if you look at the profile pic, it says that we're hiring. The tagline has never changed, and average we're interviewing X number of people, and overall in last 1 year we have hired, or we have onboarded almost 250 people, and currently we're a team of around 180 plus. Definitely attrition is there, 25 to 30%. It's not just with us, it's how the industry is behaving. But what we thought, we need to create a redundant model. Coming from a technical background, how do you create a similar redundancy there as well? So there are two models. One is where we remotely help our customers. It's a managed services model where we say, okay, you manage your core area. We will manage workloads for you. If you're running on AWS, give it to us. Our teams will manage it. And we have a team of engineers who handle right from L1 to L2 to L3 support to our customers. So on the same lines, we also, what we did for managed service and delivery, we created pod models. We created these unique pods, which comprise of, let's say, 6 people, 2 senior architects who come with 10 to 12 years experience, 2 architects, maybe from 3 to 7 years experience range. And then we also brought in some freshers into that pool where they get trained while they work with it, a pod of around 6 people. At Rapyder, we always believe in equality towards lateral and fresher hiring. I think that's what has really worked for us. Currently, we have batches of freshers going on, be it sales or technical roles. We are trying to create a launchpad for them. So this really worked for us. So while we created this model internally, we saw that these become independent pieces and delivering certain customers. So we let's say there's a delivery coming in, a pod comes in, and it's their baby, and they start delivering it. And obviously backed by a team of experienced people who support them. To solve that problem further, we offer this pod as an offering to the customers. Let's say there's a customer who's looking at creating some migrations on AWS or running workloads on AWS. So you can have an internal team who can be a point of contact, but you have an extended arm from a partner. A pod can be completely leveraged in that case, which works uniquely for the customer. So this pod model worked a lot. And there again, since we have created a 2+2+2 architecture that helps us, I'm saying it as an architecture that helps to fight in case a person moves on, we have a backup there. And the overall speed is not affected. Delivery timelines are not hampered. So that's with our experience that we have brought into the market to address this problem.
No, great. Looks like, now it's design thinking going in the org structure and team structuring, which is going to solve this problem, looks like. And this topic we can keep talking, but I would want to stick to our technology area and, and one more thing which keeps coming to my mind is mobile form factor is something which has emerged as a form factor of choice by consumers. And that has opened up a lot of newer business models, possibility of addressing newer segments, but also demand for experience on those mobile devices is kind of, very unique, and which was not there earlier, which is kind of very new. It's kind of new, not new for like last couple of years, but maybe for a decade or so. Now, if you look at, I'm sure this mobile form factor, the variety of devices, this coming in has been posing some challenges in implementing solutions and technologies like AI, cloud, and analytics. I'm sure implementing on these devices poses some different kind of challenges. And I'm sure MoEngage does a lot of that. So Narasimha, how do you solve this problem of giving similar experience to everyone, whether people are on Apple, on Android, or any other device, and what kind of challenges you go through? So how do you address this issue of making user the choice of the form factor of choice, really the form factor that delivers the best experience as well?
Yeah. No, absolutely, Lalit. In fact, I will go to an extent and call it as every blessing comes with a curse. I'll talk about it in a minute. That's the challenge and opportunity with mobile. But just from an opportunity point of view, we're talking about fintechs, and for them, mobile is like hand in glove, right? The flexibility with which you can deliver a highly personalized experience on mobile is vast. And just look at the options, right? They're still evolving. We all know of push, we know of in-app, but now you have options like app cards, app inbox. You want to run a poll survey, mobile is the best place to go. Now, if you take push notifications, so for example, you spoke of the challenge, right? They are very effective, absolutely effective in getting user attention, because you can combine very powerful, visual elements, right? And you can engage them. As I said, it's every blessing comes with a curse, right? If you look at it, close to, depends on which research report you refer to, but close to 40 to 70% of Android phone users, they actually don't get the push notifications, which are being sent out by the brands. Now, the issue could be because of the devices, because of network restrictions, and so on. Mm-hmm. In fact, today, what we recommend to the brands and we help the brands is they have to actually measure the delivery rate of notifications to customers. And not just, there's this Google FCN, which is basically a network, not just about what has been sent to the Google FCN. Now, the challenge there is, good part about the challenge which is getting solved now is there is an active collaboration, for example, in our company's MoEngage and the various phone OEMs, whether it is the Xiaomi's or Vivo's of the world, where we are looking at things like OS optimization. There are some additional backend channels which are being created for pushing up the push notification delivery rate, because that's what eventually drives engagement, and which means more impressions, more clicks, more conversion rate. Just to give an example, today, close to 25 million push notifications are sent every second using this platform. Not to expand the challenge, but the bigger part about, you spoke about various form factors, Apple phone, Android phone, and so on. The other aspects about it is you create content once and deliver it irrespective of the channel, irrespective of the device. That's where AI comes in a big way. Where using AI, we can quickly understand what kind of segments, what kind of content, what form factors to push out. So I'm happy to say that what looked like a complicated problem till some time back is no longer a significant problem.
Okay. No, that's a great news. I think that's a great news. And hearing about these tools and this number of 25 million push notifications a minute is kind of, it's definitely overwhelming, and the number is increasing. I believe it's increasing. Every time a new application gets launched, we see a lot more push notifications. So and fantastic. So it looks like cloud, AI, and analytics is playing. It's solving real business problems. In terms of whether it's speed to market, hyper-personalization, or kind of engagement on various devices. And it also seems to be addressing the problem of attrition and skill and resources as well. So great. But one thing which I keep hearing, and which we keep hearing in different forums, is that are these technologies, whether it's AI or it's kind of analytics, are they really solving problems at scale? Are there use cases where AI is being used to address business problems which are really enterprise-like and which are being solved at scale as one? Second, will we be able to kind of extend these to beyond consumers, or they'll be only limited to consumers? Maybe we can be using for a smaller ticket kind of interaction, or with consumers you can use it, but when it comes to enterprises, these technologies may or may not have kind of yielded results as it is talked about. I think it'll be nice to hear from any one of you if you can cite some use cases where AI has been used to solve enterprise-like problems at scale. Because we always hear about AI, but then the second thought comes is it's maybe just a simple rule-based kind of a thing, which is more being presented like AI. That's one thing which goes around when we talk in our regular conversations. So it'll be nice to hear about some use cases which have been really addressed, enterprise class at scale using AI.
Yeah. Let me give it a shot first. Sure. Before Sachin and Ashish step in. One of the most evolved example I can think of right away is, we all know how important customer journey is, the way the customer is reacting with a brand. Traditionally, the belief was a customer may have a channel preference, like Narasimha may respond only to email and not to SMS. But now, thanks to AI, what brands are uncovering is it's a lot more complex than that. Customers choose multiple ways to interact with a brand. So somebody may see an email first and then see an app notification, and then may come to an website and then may add something to the cart. Now that's that complex journey goes through. Today, thanks to AI, you can quickly understand what mix of journeys are resonating with a particular brand, with a particular segment, sorry. Some of the things which are very evolved now, for example, if you look at time optimization, right? When is the best time to send a message based on the user profile, right? Or content, what type of content resonates with what type of audience, right? Interestingly, India is immense opportunity for personalization. Just look at the languages, right? So for example, if I were to say Delhi speaking English male versus Bangalore Hindi speaking female, no, please don't read too much into that, but this two examples you could take, right? How these two react, what kind of message can resonate to them, that's what AI today can help you quickly uncover. So, for example, one of the other things which we're seeing is, it's a quite interesting phenomenon is real-time instant triggers, right? So at the right mobile moment, sending the right instant message. Today, AI will help you drive that. So you all are probably quite familiar with this concept of RFM, right? Recency, frequency, and monetary value, right? It's about how do you create those segments so you're able to understand which segment you need to go behind. For example, there could be a set of audiences who who sleep early, right? Why do you even want to send them a push notification at that time of the day, right? So that's the power of AI today.
Yep. No, interesting. Great. Looks like the hearsay that we have in our forums needs to be put to rest. And, AI seems to be solving real business problems at scale. So fantastic. I don't know how we are doing on time, but yeah. Gitanjali, how are we doing on time? Can we pick up one more topic, or should we go to questions? I think I see some questions in my inbox from audience. If we may have kind of opportunity to pick them up.
I think we should take the questions now.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think one of the questions that I see is, how do the future technology in cloud protects from theft of user details and payment information from vulnerable attacks? So I think very, very important question. So thank you for asking that. I think it's without that question, it would have been a little incomplete, I would say. The entire security, data security, issues of theft with cloud, specifically with cloud. One thought that always comes to mind is that, cloud is making us more vulnerable. That is what is the perception, it seems. How is cloud addressing this? Or is it really a problem which is coming up because of cloud, or it's not really relevant to cloud? So I think, Ashish, when it comes to cloud, I remember a few. So your name comes to mind. So why don't you kind of,
that question every time we used to get it. I think, if we go like 3-4 years back, the first question was security. But then, over a period of time, we have seen that question now coming to more towards, how do we do additional things beyond this? But on the security side, definitely, there's a proper model of security. If we talk about cloud, it's security in the cloud and security of the cloud. You are putting the applications, let's say you are in a hotel, I'll protect the whole hotel. But if you don't lock your door, then it comes to the application. So what I'm saying is, overall, if we have both robust mechanisms, right, from a cloud perspective, as well as from the app perspective, we'll be able to cover it. Then we can leverage native security measures which are available, be it different services that are available. And then there are different service providers on security side which we work with, and we ensure a robust environment. So once you're deployed on AWS or you're deployed on cloud, it's again important that we keep reviewing it. There's an architecture which we call as well-architected review, which means we're re-looking at your architecture, we're reviewing it and seeing if there are any loopholes and fixing those gaps. So it's a continuous process. But yes, now I see this question coming lesser when you're talking about cloud. Security is more like, how do we address it, be it on-premise or on cloud? That's how I've seen it.
So looks like I should not be worried if my data is on cloud. I'm not going to be kind of, my identity theft is not going to be happening because it's cloud. So
absolutely, as long as you're locking the door of your room.
No, thanks for that reassurance. And one thing more which I'm gathering from what you said, that it's not about cloud or on-prem. It's more about the architecture, how solid your architecture is, how the architecture has been designed from security paradigm and perspective. If it has been designed well, if it is being reviewed regularly, then it's pretty much as secure as being on-prem or being on cloud, is what I understood.
Absolutely.
Great. So great. So, and there's one more question which is on similar lines. So I'll skip that, which is again about personalization and data theft. But there's one very interesting question which I wanted to pick up, and I could not, which was kind of how is this entire aspect of risk assessment decision making being addressed using AI and analytics? So today, one very, very important aspect is every company is wanting to grow faster than ever. Every company is wanting to kind of roll out products faster and making sure that the products are closer to the consumers. But there is some amount of newer dimensions of risk which are coming attached to it. Newer needs for decision making, which needs to be done in every transaction. So how is AI or cloud or this entire data being used to kind of do these risk assessments or kind of, take care of this decision making? Maybe Narasimha or Sachin, any one of you.
Yeah, I can do this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're from payments. You're from payments. It's
Yes.
definitely it's kind of
Yeah. So absolutely right. From a payment standpoint, maybe I can probably give a few examples as well. See, the usage of AI today to say that okay, we need if there are any use cases that require 100% accuracy of something, that's where the use cases on AI go like, okay, we've got to have like a hybrid model there, right? So for example, if you start using AI to say what's a potential dispute or a potential fraud, that is where you start to have like a hybrid model where these things are flagged, and I'm sure all of us have received calls from our banks at some point in time or the other saying that did you do this transaction, but they still let the transaction go through. But if you see that if you do too many of those transactions, or if they happen in quick succession or a certain pattern, you'll see that your card's been blocked, right? So that is where that differentiator is starting to come in, where it's a balance between how do you want a consumer experience to take place versus the risk that there'll be something really wrong later on, right? So and that is where so a risk listening system while doing transactions is one. The second one I've seen happen is around non-performing assets, or trying to see whether something is going to become a non-performing asset, or someone is going to become a non-performing asset, and that again that is where it's like an early warning system. Since these have a non-performing asset will have a little bit more time, so you'll have a little bit more time to react versus something that's a little bit more real time. But in this case as well, a good hybrid model where there's good engagement and good interaction, and that is where we've got all of the conversation on how do you interact AI, which is a different stream altogether, that comes up for us to be able to say, okay, this is potentially going down towards an NPA route. How do we have a conversation with this person to ensure that they don't go down that route, rather than it being too late?
Great. So I think it's mix of probabilistic models coming from AI and deterministic models coming from rules, which are kind of really helping us overcome this risk assessment and decision-making problems.
Yep.
And what I also understand is that you have some models where we need to kind of make decisions instantly, and maybe raise a flag, and then some action needs to be done on that flag, rather than flag itself being sufficient. So great. So I think I'm not sure if we have much time left, but I would want to ask one question. Maybe that's for you, Narasimha. The last one comes your way, which is, if you look at on one side, we have this issue of data security, privacy, risk assessment, decision making. On the other side, speed to market, hyper personalization. How do we strike the balance between these? And are these really on the opposite side, or is it that sometimes this entire issue of security and what do you call information security poses challenges for hyper personalization, or the demand for hyper personalization raising more challenges for implementing security? Do we think are there any crossroads where these things cross each other? So what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can see Geetanjali is signaling time out. I'll keep it super short. No, I think it is about the very clear norms and compliances. For example, GDPR compliance, right? So there is no shortcut to this. There are clearly laid out norms and compliances. Brands, technology vendors, especially technology vendors, should have the ability to kind of invest and manage within those compliance norms. There is no shortcut to it. Doesn't matter what business benefit you get, but you can't cut corners there.
So great. So no shortcuts. So we'll keep it short. Geetanjali is kind of signaling. So I think great conversation. I really loved it. Just quick takeaways. What I can take away from here is that these technologies like cloud, AI, and analytics are playing very, very significant role in solving business problems, be it problem of personalization, giving user experience that consumers are demanding today, or it's speed to market. On the other side, these technologies are also solving the problem of lack of skill sets, training resources quickly, making sure that we are able to take care of operational hassles related to these. So looks like, these technologies are really kind of, doing more like holistic service and not just kind of doing in one aspect or the other. But these three technologies that we spoke about today seem to be kind of, making us geared up for the future that is in kind of, that is out there for us. So I think looks like there is something which is taking care of it. So fantastic. Thank you so much, each one of you. It was great interaction and great answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lalit. Ashish, Narasimha, Sachin, thank you so much for joining us today. Unfortunately, we've been told that Suchit had a last-minute tech malfunction, and so he could not join us today. Nevertheless, it was a very informative discussion. And with that, it is now time to move on to our next discussion. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with you on your screens in a moment.
100 रुपए में बिटकॉइन ट्रेडिंग
पॉसिबल है
इम्पॉसिबल
लगी शर्त और हारा तो It's possible on CoinSwitch Kuber. Download करो और बिटकॉइन में ट्रेडिंग स्टार्ट. CoinSwitch Kuber, सिक्का चमकेगा.
Cryptocurrency is an unregulated digital asset, not a legal tender and subject to market risks and price fluctuation risk.
Where there is life, there is hope, there is meaning. But life has its downs as much as its ups. Life is about challenges. Life is about opportunities. Time for joy, time for celebration, and time to introspect. Thankfully, in every one of life's moments, and even beyond life itself, there's LIC. Where there is life, there's always LIC. Zindagi ke saath bhi, zindagi ke baad bhi.